Welcome to ReCall The Midwife, where we, three Call The Midwife superfans, discuss each episode, and today is episode 1, series 1. But first, let us tell you about ourselves. My name's Alex, and I got into Call The Midwife in a quite novel way. I had a baby myself, and well, it didn't quite go as well as it could have. And basically, I had PTSD and was advised by a professional to watch this show for a bit of a aversion therapy. And I'm absolutely addicted to it now. And then we have Becky.
So I got into Call The Midwife basically because Alex pressured me into watching it. I had no interest in watching it beforehand. And I will say I was put off by the whole midwife babies every week concept. But helped by a global pandemic, I soon became addicted to it and binge watched 10 series in quite quick succession. And we also have Jen.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure you can tell by the sound of my voice that I am American, and I actually met Bex and Alex when I did a study abroad year in the UK, and we've been friends ever since. And I got into Call The Midwife because of these two, but I will say my mom has been a super fan of Call The Midwife for a long time. So I would kind of watch episodes here and there with her, but never the full series. And so I'm kind of the brand new one joining the group. I haven't seen the series all the way through, so there's still a lot of things that'll be a surprise for me. And I'm really excited about this. So I just want to give a brief disclaimer before we start. The show is appropriate for everyone, but just to make sure that we're all aware, the show deals with a lot of really tough concepts and human experiences, including, childbirth, aging, sometimes death, some really, kind of traumatic experiences in life. So just to be aware that if those are things that are uncomfortable for you or you're not ready for that at this time, you can always skip ahead to a different episode or come back later if you'd like. Okay.
You're so American. Right.
You're so good at it, though.
Are we ready, ladies?
Yes.
Okay. So the first episode, series 1, it's basically, I'll just do a quick recap, that it's set in 1957 in Poplar in London, which was very, should we say, deprived at the time.
It's a housing development, right? Like a council
Poplar's
estate?
It's just a district of London.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good context for me.
So it's basically following Jenny Lee, who is a brand new midwife, basically, and we're being introduced to everywhere when she is. So basically, you're following her story, and the voiceover is her, an old Jenny Lee, talking about how she was being a midwife growing up and how it was all going. So that's how it's all put together. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you would know that anyway, because you will obviously be a fan. So we've all got notes that we've written on but I've watched this episode about 65 times, and not just for this, I just love it.
I do have to say, and this is a spoiler because at some point Jenny Lee leaves the series. It annoys me that her older voiceover is still narrating the series.
Same.
I feel like, how does she know what's going on? It should have
letters. She gets letters from Trixie, and
I feel like they should have left the voiceover person as just an anonymous. We don't know who it was, but one of them is talking about everything that went on. It would have been better being Trixie.
Maybe Vanessa Redgrave really needed the paycheck, and she just didn't want to leave or whatever.
She's just a jobbing actor, isn't she? So.
Just a run of the mill, Yeah.
Right. So. Obviously at first it's got the train music, which I know it sounds weird. I've written train music on my notes that makes it sound mental, but I feel like they've done this particularly, it's quite a fast pace, and it's got the sounds of the industrial bit there, because obviously there's a big port there as well, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're trying to make you think it's a journey she's on. That's what I think anyway. Does that mean going delved too far into it?
No, I think that's exactly right. I definitely felt like when you started the first episode that I mean, again, not to like belabor the point, but like I moved to the UK for the study abroad year when I was 19, about to turn 20. And there's this definite feeling of like, okay, you know, like completely something she's never, you know, done before, like something brand new, like we're all going to discover this together. And then kind of being introduced to this, you know, really eclectic group of characters. I thought it really just dropped me in there, like right exactly where you needed to be, because I will tell you, I thought I knew what this show was about when I started watching it. I did not really know what the show was about. And I feel like Jenny is the perfect protagonist to kind of like, just because her mind gets blown over and over and over again. And that beginning, I think, sets it up perfectly for that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Bex.
I think as well, when Jenny Lee first comes into it, she's kind of walking through the docks and she's getting a lot of looks from all of the dock workers. They're all looking her up and down. But then when it cuts to she's got her midwife uniform on, it's kind of like she just blends into the background.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good observation.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, don't you feel like, and this is again alluding to other episodes, but I feel like Jenny, like, and maybe this is because she wrote the book that inspired the show, so she had to get it in there. But I feel like her character is meant to be fit. Like she's like, I feel like a lot of comments about.
Well, she said I could have been a model. I could have been an air hostess.
I could have been anything where like you have to be extremely beautiful and like everyone loves you and thinks you're so gorgeous and like wants to date you and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, Jenny, like, I mean, the girl who plays Jenny she is a very pretty girl, but it just makes me lol when that's in the script. And I just like, yeah, okay, hon, we get it. We get it. Yeah, you're gorgeous. Okay, we get it. You know,
I chose to come here to this slum.
And deal with all these scummy people, which I mean, we're not saying they're scummy, but you know, that's
no, they are. Like, I'm not being funny, but the first scene is the fight scene between a heavily pregnant woman who's got the clap. And then
she was pregnant until really the end of that fight, when all of a sudden, you know, is it Sister Evangeline that comes up to her? Yeah. That was a good reveal.
Yeah, but I think that's a really good introduction to Sister Evangelina as well, because she's hard as nails. And the police were there with no effect at all. But Sister Evangelina was the one who was able to like break it up. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a legend. She's, oh my God, Sister Evangelina. So
but beautiful. Even then, after they finished the fight, so at the first scene, if you've not seen it or if you're, you know, just kept remembering, the first scene is basically Pearl, this heavily pregnant, right, woman, let's be honest, having a big fight with someone who's having an affair with her husband, and they're like, she's properly like ripping her clothes and stuff, and the police can't do anything, but then Sister Evangelina's there like, oh, break it up, sorts it out, and then she takes Pearl upstairs to get you. Obviously she's a midwife, so she's coming to check on her, but even then she like pats her on the back, like showing a caring side to her. So she's hard as nails but also very caring. I thought it was very good scene. Nothing to add, anyone?
I want Bex to say something because you had some really good insights on this. And I want to hear what you think.
No, I don't on this bit.
Okay, well, can we just get to when Jenny meets Monica Joan for the first time? Because one of the things I love about that scene is the looking around for cake and then finding it in a tin. And she's like, oh, they always hide things from me. And at first I was like, oh, that's so rude that they hide things. But obviously, again, this is something you're going to learn when you watch the episode. That woman is voracious. She eats apparently 10 loaves of bread a day. She eats 5 cakes. She eats, I mean, like unbelievable digestive system to be able to gobble down that much stuff like that. And if you look at the tin, and so Monica Joan greets Jenny, but doesn't give her like any context of like what she's supposed to do, who she's supposed to meet, where she's supposed to go. She's literally like, oh, just someone now I can like justify like eating cake and tea with. And so they do that for like 3 hours. And then finally the other girls come in, adult women who are like both nuns and midwives. And then it gets going. But I don't know, man, something about...
Can I just say on that? Because I thought about it later. Well, number one, I've got 2 points on this. Mrs. B makes the cakes. Where the F is Mrs. B? I've never seen her.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, I know. It really annoys me.
I thought the other like nuns and stuff were doing the cooking. It's
Mrs. B.
It's a lady.
Oh, I mean, this is one of the main things I love about Call The Midwife is the amount of tea and cakes that is consumed.
Oh my God.
Scones. And I also love a cold spread.
By the way, Becky's time travelled from 1957 to come to this podcast today.
That's actually very accurate. You know what though? I will tell you, like Call the Midwife continues a long tradition of like shows about women where a big feature of their time that the women spend together is just like eating and drinking. And I think I love that because
that is actually true depiction though. That's what we do.
It is so true. I mean, if you are a woman in this world, the best thing you can do is get together with a group of your girlfriends and eat like a big, huge cake, a big, huge meal, a big, like 10 bottles of wine, whatever it is. I mean, just like let your hair down, let loose, gals. Like, yes. And I'm glad to see that they were doing it back then too. I mean, I think it's a time-honored tradition.
Well, hang on, I've got a second point on this cake. Sister Monica Joan. The audacity of the set. I've written selfish and then a swear word because I'm not being funny. She's just sat there all day. Like she prays a bit, but that's about it. Whereas the rest of the world,
but she's earned her.
But they're cycling around 10 miles or something. Then
you don't think Evangelina has earned the cake? Yeah, the whole cake, by the way, because when there's a shot, if you look and you pause the episode, that there's like definitely at least 3/4 of the cake there, at least. And it's gone by the end.
I love cake, but I do think it is a stretch that they could have eaten that without it becoming just
without like throwing up at the end. The audacity of Sister Monica Joan.
Well, but I love Sister Monica Joan.
I know we all will love her, but I mean, okay, Sister Monica Joan is like a complicated character that will
I have complicated feelings about her.
Yeah, I will say she comes in and out for me, and we're gonna have to talk about her more in detail as we get to know her. But for the first episode, she's kind of she's just kind of presented as like a zany old nun that, you know, used to like do all the work and everything. Okay, so we have to talk about the patients. Expected mothers that are going to be, because very good. Because again, like I said at the beginning, okay, you start the show, all right. You get the little, you know, the handwriting over the top of the screen, the beautiful music, Call the Midwife. You see these beautiful young pristine women on bicycles, you know, with their like perfect little gowns and everything, and then you're bam, thrown in the deep end. Okay, they don't waste any time. All of a sudden, you have a mom. Jenny's first case. She goes to this woman's house. The woman has 24 children. Are we like we can't gloss over that. The woman has 2 children. 24 children. Okay, human births that she's given.
And I don't think she has a single stretch mark.
No.
No one ever has stretch marks.
No. And what was the other one? Oh, the other one is the woman that gives birth in her bedroom, which is incredibly, I mean, everybody gives birth basically in their bedroom on this show. But the baby comes and all of a sudden they start hearing all this rattling and then the whole chimney explodes.
Yeah, I thought the baby was going to be dead. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh my God, that baby's dead. And they were like laughing. It's just asleep.
Well, and Evangeline is like, oh, I'm going to kill that, what's the word? Chimney sweep. She's like, I'm going to have him. You know, and it's like, did no one I just couldn't get over that. I was like, this is the most unsanitary thing I have ever seen in my whole life. And not only is there a newborn baby in the mix, all of that mother's like bits are out. You know what I mean? Like she's the most exposed. I was shocked. I mean, it was presented as a very hilarious scene, but I was like, what? I couldn't believe
this is the bit where Jenny Lee first finds that they line the mattresses with newspaper for when the waters break. Now, I will say newspaper is not going to do anything.
No.
My friend gave birth at home in bed, and they literally had to throw the whole bed out like it was just like a crime scene. They were like, this like newspaper ain't going to save anything.
No. I mean, the people in Poplar should literally be buying like mattresses in bulk at this point. Like they should be going to every like Labor Day sale, President's Day sale, you know, Memorial Day sale, a store. I mean,
we don't have Labor Day here.
Well, okay, bank holiday sale.
Or President's Day.
I don't know what Queen's Day, whatever sale days you guys have. Okay, you guys have to, like, these women all just need to buy fresh mattress. I mean, can you imagine like? Anyway, I'm not going to say it, but like just absolutely.
Well, think about Mrs. Warren's mattress. She's had 24 kids.
Oh my God. And the other things they do on that mattress, like.
Well, hang on, let's talk about the Warrens. So like a rabbit warren, there's 24 of them. Maybe they named them like that. Yeah. Anyway, the fact we've completely glossed over the fact that Mr. Warren basically brought a child bride over from another country. And and also that conversation, all the nuns are like, oh yeah, well, she may have been even younger, Sister Julienne says, laughing, like, lols, he's a predator. Like, how is that okay?
And the way that they describe it is that he was there, like, while he was in the military. And it's like, everyone needs a souvenir when they come home. You know what I mean? Like, he just brought that lady,
he
like
brought
that
a child bride.
Listen, who can blame him? I mean, the heart wants what the heart wants, and this guy's heart wanted, a very young teenager to be, that he couldn't speak to, by the way, because they don't have the same language.
But this annoys me because neither of them have picked up a word of English or Spanish in all the years that they've been having children together and living together, apparently madly in love.
Shocking.
Surely you would have picked up some of the other person's language.
They've got language of love, Becky.
That talk about like the most horrible, like where the magic happens and language of love are two of the worst phrases ever invented in the English language. Like, they are absolutely diametrically opposed to what they intend to mean. And oh my gosh, they send shivers down my spine. The language of love is just the most horrifying thing I've ever heard. I never want to speak the language of love ever.
Yeah, but what they do have is their eldest daughter who translates for them both, changes Denise's nappies, does all the kids' tea, looks after all the kids. So she also finds time to go to school. And what was that rod she had from home ec? Icing rod. It was her icing rod that fed the baby. So they basically just rely on their eldest as like cheap labour or free labour.
So she has a premature baby in the storyline. That baby would have not survived. I'm sorry.
Well, Jenny Lee didn't think it would. She left it on the side, didn't she, until its legs started moving?
Yeah, but that's right.
Even so, it just absolutely wouldn't have survived.
True. No. Hang on, we need to put a bit of context here. So Conchita is the Spanish lady who has the 24 kids. She's had 20 births, 2 were twins.
She's never lost one.
Yeah. So basically, she goes into labour prematurely, very prematurely. Do you know what really annoyed me, actually? The dad, the paedophile, let's just call him pedo, let's call it what it is. He rang up the midwives and was like, oh, she's fallen over in the yard. And they're like, oh, well, you need to get an ambulance. And he's like, well, it's too dark because there's a big storm or whatever. No, it's not a storm. What is it? Fog.
No, it's the smog.
The smog, yes.
Oh, the smog, yeah.
And he's like, oh, there's a big smog. No one can see anything. You can't even see your hand in front of your face. And she's like, well, yeah, I'd ring the doctor. And he's like, no, see, it's too late for the doctor. I'm ringing you because she's in labour now. Why is that not the first thing he said on the phone to the midwives? Like, oh, she's in labour now. Not like, oh, she's fallen in the yard. That annoyed me.
Well, and also let's just like not forget that Jenny goes to visit her for an initial visit and she finds that Conchita has swollen ankles, which she thinks is a concerning symptom of eclampsia. And she's like, her ankles are swollen. I really think she needs to go see the doctor. Like, this could be a really issue. And he's like, no, she's fine. Just, like, oh, well, she'll be okay. And it's like, well, and then he says, well, maybe she can get rid of it like another way. And she's like, well, could she find some time to sit down and like put her feet up? He's like, oh, I don't think that's going to happen. No. Like, she's got 40 kids to raise. Like, so like it was already set up. So when she fell over, like I definitely felt like it was alluding to the fact that something was really wrong. And it's like, then so that's when I think he pushes as well for that.
Yeah. So anyway, so she then goes into really early labour. How long? They said she had like 12 weeks to go, didn't they? So I can't. My math
is that 28 weeks then? She's 28 weeks or 30 weeks. Let's say it's somewhere around there, I think. Yeah, 28, 30 weeks.
So anyway, so she goes into labour and it is the most brutal labour scene I've ever seen in my whole entire life. So basically what they're saying is she has a concussion as well. So she's like screaming the house. It's actually brute, isn't it? Really brutal. So then she has this tiny little baby that they say looks like a kipper or something, like kipper bones or something. And then they think the baby's dead, but then the baby's not dead, but Jenny Lee's left it on like the side. And
I mean, carefully, like she didn't just like put it, do you know what
else got me? Their room had quite a lot of room in it. For someone with 20 kids, like how big was that house? Like where the hell do all the kids sleep if they've got enough room for that furniture and stuff in their room?
You would think they would have kids in.
They had the baby from the previous, her last baby was just sat in the hallway in the pram. Did you remember when she walks by that on the way up? She's like, oh, there's another one.
But I have to say, there are just babies in knitted clothing everywhere, just sat in prams.
Yeah.
In the street, in hallways, in stairwells.
It's true. It's like the real access. They're like the real extras of Call the Midwife, aren't they?
Yeah.
Love a baby though in a knitted outfit.
Yeah, apparently you can just put your baby anywhere in 1957 London. Like, it doesn't matter. You can just like bring it to the shop and be like, okay, I'll be back later after I picked up my dry cleaning, and that's fine. You know?
Now, something also happened in Conchita's labour, which is a real sticking point for me.
Okay.
So if any of the writers are listening to this, which obviously they will be.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm assuming the whole cast and crew are going to be like riveted from the moment this is published. Of course, I think that's,
But also the thing that really annoys me is, so she had this awful labour and everything was horrendous. And then the dad said, Mr. Warren, the paedophile, said, how easily will it come away? Right? And
I know what you're going to say.
The words come away are used constantly when it comes to abortion or miscarriage, or when will it come away? When will it come away? Not once in my life have I ever thought or have referenced anything to do with when will it come away. That is the last phrase that would ever come to my mind when asking, a question to a midwife or a nurse or a doctor or anything like that.
Yeah.
So the fact that every single character, when they have a miscarriage or a botched abortion or anything like this, says, has it come away, or when will it come away, or it just drives me absolutely mad. So this is the first klaxon of come away, and we will have many more klaxons because it really annoys me. Get some new phraseology.
Well, do you think it's for the time period that's why they say that?
Well, I doubt it. Well, every single flaming one. Like, it's not a famous phrase that I've heard. Is it a phrase you've heard, Bex?
Do you think it's the least triggering way of saying what they're trying to
change it up, writers? Come on.
You'd think they would find, I mean, yeah. It strikes me as like one way they're trying to kind of like make something. I mean, the thing is, there's already so much that's like out in the open that's really rough about the way that they talk about all this stuff. Maybe they're trying to kind of soften.
I don't care.
Yeah, I think they're trying to say what's going on without saying what's going on.
Well, I'm sorry, but you need to change your phraseology because that is ridiculous. I'm done with it. It annoys me. And we've got a klaxon for it now.
All right. So every time someone says "come away," we're gonna make a little.
I'm gonna highlight it and send it to them and be like, "Stop it!" Right now, also the other thing that happened when Conchita gave birth to her 25th child, her son, by the way. We'll talk about what happened with the son in a minute, but we got introduced for the first time to Dr. Turner.
Dr. Turner.
Oh, I love Dr. Turner.
I mean, yeah, he's... don't we all love Dr. Turner?
I mean, he's single-handedly the only doctor in Poplar, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the only doctor.
He stopped pandemic. If only he was around while coronavirus came on. He's retired.
Oh,
well, he would have prevented it.
Well, of course.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Fauci has nothing on Dr. Turner. Like, forget it. He would have been able to handle the whole thing. And apparently he's a single dad and yet works like 800 hours a week and can like do everything. And I mean, I will say he does look a little bit tired. Like he's definitely supposed to be a middle-aged man, but I mean, he really always presents in a very kind of rumpled, like I slept in these type of, kind of.
To be fair as well, in 1957, like child neglect was just the norm. Like Timothy's there, just like hanging around,
Yeah,
he does seem quiet.
He does seem always to be on call. There's never another doctor that steps in because it's Dr. Turner's day off.
No. I will say during Conchita's birth, they do have. I think is it EMTs or paramedics come?
Oh no, isn't it the flying squad?
Yeah. Okay, what are the flying squad? I just thought they were like paramedics, but
it's the flying squad they are. I guess it's like a mobile unit specifically for childbirth, but the flying squad, isn't that like a reference back to the war?
Oh, I thought, do you know what? I'm really thick. I thought it just meant they were in a helicopter.
Wait, a helicopter? No, they didn't. You didn't just realize a helicopter.
1957.
Fly 4 miles across London to like go into
and then put down the helicopter in the middle of like heavily populated Poplar.
Oh,
hang on, I'm googling this.
the helicopter would have landed on the roof and then crushed the whole building. Like Poplar was basically built like on like matchsticks or whatever. I mean, that structure is not really that stable.
Right. Their obstetric emergency service, the flying squad.
Okay.
It absolutely tells you nothing. So you carry on, and I'll.
Okay. Well, I will say this. When Conchita says the thing about how, okay, so when the flying squad comes, they say, the babies come, they're assessing the baby, they're assessing the mother, and they're like, look, she has to go to the hospital, the baby has to go to the hospital. But it's really, really, really important that the baby goes to the hospital because we've got to give this child some interventive care. And immediately she says in Spanish, no, I'm not doing that. I know best. I'm the baby's mother, so the baby stays with me. And they're like, "Ooh, I don't really think that's a great idea." And then the dad, or maybe I don't know if someone seconds her opinion, but anyways, they, after she advocates more, she's, they decide the baby's going to stay with her. And I turned to my mother when we were watching the episode, and I was like, "This is literally why, like, AMA documents were created, like against medical advice, like literally was born out of clients like this." Like, I'm not saying she was right or wrong for her decision, but definitely,
I think you'll find she was right, because spoiler alert, the baby's totally fine because of an icing stick or whatever. That's icing rod.
Yeah.
By the way, just really quick, the flying squad is called that is because the unit operated across London without adhering to divisional policing boundaries. So basically, it has nothing to do with a helicopter. I am thick. Carry on.
Well, tell us something we don't know, Alex.
But would they not have intervened and said, no, this premature baby has to go to hospital, and not just to any hospital, but Great Ormond Street, which is like a world-renowned children's hospital.
Yeah, but it probably wasn't world-renowned then.
Well, I think
she didn't know English, Bex.
I think if the child was in like dire straits, then they would have been able to override her because of some, provision. But I don't think the kid was that bad off. I think they were just kind of, you know what I mean? It was definitely a gray area. It made me uncomfortable. I'm not going to say it didn't. I really, at that point, I did not trust this woman to be really the most reliable,
Also, this woman who's still got concussion.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, is she really understanding the medical situation that both her and her child are in? I mean, is the dad or the daughter really communicating that properly? I mean,
well, to be fair, she was right, because the baby basically started putting weight on. She was the baby. She was like, I'm the baby's hospital. So what she did was she just popped the baby into a little robe, just lying naked on her, and gave it some milk every half hour on an icing rod. And this baby survived. Yeah. So he's probably walking around London right now.
He is, and he's 70 years old telling the story of, and he doesn't know any of his siblings because they all were,
Well, some of them speak Spanish and some of them speak English, so
I'm sure.
Although the baby did do the cutest little sneeze, even though it was like premature, it was cute.
Well, and this is something to say. This show has amazingly cute kids on it. I mean, if you have an interest in cute kids, that doesn't sound right, but I'm just saying, if you think like the babies on here are really cute, the kids on here are really cute, and the thing that's really adorable is they're all dressed in these really, I mean, like Beck said, really adorable, like little knitted outfits, like they've got the little pinafore dresses, like, I mean, they're very, very, very cute little kiddos on this show.
It's head to toe knitwear.
Head to toe knitwear. And the other thing about this show, which I think kind of rounds out what we've been talking about this whole episode, is that this one, the parents' choices had good outcomes, but the show will show you over time that, these decisions are a very gray area, because sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes they're going to validate parents' choices or, the expectant mothers or whatever.
I do think
sometimes they're not, which I think is very fair and good that they do that.
I do think that the Jenny Lee storyline with this Conchita mum was there. Like, obviously Jenny was right with the preeclampsia and all that. All the training in the world was like really helping her there. But also I kind of think it was quite good to show her, because obviously she was only new, wasn't she? To like show her that you can have all the training in the world, but if you've got 25 kids, you know what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was
it's also very rose tinted. Like, there was a good outcome, but I think realistically there wouldn't have been.
Oh yeah, but we don't want to watch that on a Sunday night, do we?
Well, and they'll have bad outcomes later on. So I think they were trying to kind of,
ease us in gently.
But also they're introducing Jenny as well, so I think it's quite And also Pearl, that bit with Pearl, because Pearl also lost the baby because she had the clap. That's just awful. Now, just reducing it to that as a storyline, just explain it like that's horrible. But it's true. In the storyline, she had the clap and she lost the baby because her husband was basically awful. But anyway, the bit I really liked was when Jenny went up to her flat and she was already like feeling really, Jenny didn't like the dirt and was all a bit complaining about it. But
she was very judgmental of this lady at the start.
Yeah. But then at the end, she was like, I think you're all heroines and all this. But Pearl was just so stoic. Like, she was obviously really upset. She just lost a baby. Like, she had milk coming out of her still from a baby she didn't have. And she was like, oh, you just got to keep going, haven't you? And I just thought, oh, God, how bleak. This is so bleak.
Well, yeah, that was definitely like, and each episode has those highs and lows where you see something work out and then you potentially see something that doesn't work out. And I think it's a really good balance because I think it's very often that, a lot of these stories get really, like everyone wants to hear the happy stories of like the miraculous recoveries and all that kind of stuff. But that's not really how life is. And the show really does a good job of showing the reality and the fact that, it's not always just like rosy, easy coconut cake afternoons,
Now, I do know somebody who thought they were having an adverse reaction to their COVID vaccine, but it turns out they had also contracted syphilis. So it's easily done, apparently.
I did not even think syphilis still existed, which is on me. Again, this is my stupid moment where I was like, why wouldn't it still exist? But
can I just say, Jen, it is not typical of the UK. I also did not know about this. This is not a UK. Well, maybe it is, but it's not in my circles. Carry on, Beck. Sorry.
Well, apparently there's an outbreak in the Bristol area, so take it.
Well, this is a warning to everyone around Bristol. Just be careful of syphilis. What a way to end.
And apparently, and Bex knows patient zero, so that's a really comforting takeaway. Okay, so wait, just one last thing. I'm going to say my hero comment of the week, or my hero moment of this episode, and I'm so glad you brought up Pearl's storyline because I had forgotten about it. And this is where Sister Evangeline really kind of won me over because she was so tough in the beginning of the episode, is where she says about Pearl, because Jenny's kind of complaining that, she's like, how could she let this happen to her? Like, how could she like have a baby and have some, did it like she's really blaming Pearl for the situation that she's in. And Sister Evangeline says, she's not used to caring about herself or having anyone care about her. Ugh. And I'm telling you, this show will get you every single time. And that comment really, really got me, and it really reframed it for Jenny too, I think. And it was so humanizing and so sweet. And that was my special moment.
That's true. But who's the zero? I'll tell you, I think the zero of the week is, well, it's between two things.
Okay.
Syphilis.
Always a zero. Historically a zero.
It's never going to be the hero, is it? Or the pedo dad, like, you know what I mean? There's two quite bad zeros there. Should we give them a joint zero of the week together?
Yeah, I think syphilis might edge out the pedo dad, but I mean, just in terms of like volume of destruction. But yeah, I think those were not great. Beck's hero, zero?
Yeah, I think I would agree with both of you on both those counts.
As it should be. I love it.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully we didn't bore you or confuse you or annoy you. Hopefully you'll listen to number 2.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you for listening.
Bye.